Good morning and welcome to Love Every Moment, coming to you today from Storyteller Ranch, which was the farmhouse retreat of Johnny Cash. Today's verse is 1 Peter 1:20. For he was foreknown before the foundation of the world, but has appeared in these last times for the sake of you. An interesting verse, especially how it proceeds from the previous verse. And let's look at that. It starts with for, and anytime we have a for or a therefore, a because, that we have to go back to the previous verse. That, of course, is last week's verse. I had the link up here, which talked about his precious blood. It's more precious than silver and gold. It's because of that incredible sacrifice that he made for us to provide a path of redemption. It wasn't some light little thing. It was a huge sacrifice. And so it's a precious blood. And what should be our reaction to such a sacrifice? Now, because of that sacrifice, now we get this week's verse, for he was foreknown before the foundation of the world. Well, that doesn't seem to explain the preciousness of his blood, at least not at first. But there are 3 verses in Romans that really help to enlighten this. Let's have a look, shall we? That's Romans 5, 6, 7, and 8. Starting with verse 6, for while we were still helpless, at the right time, Christ died for the ungodly. Now, when we first read that, we might tend to think that he came right at the moment of salvation, almost as if our soul had an accident, and here comes Jesus with the ambulance, last minute kind of a thing. It's not really that last minute. Now, of course, we won't say it in those words, but we tend to think he was right there at the moment of salvation. Now, yes, it's true. He was there at the moment of salvation, but that was not the first time that he was there for us. Let's continue to read. Verse 7, for one will hardly die for a righteous man, though perhaps for the good man someone would dare even to die. Now, we see this sometimes in, let's say, the military, where some soldier might lay down his life for his comrade in arms, and that's a very good thing. But would that soldier lay down his life for an enemy that's trying to kill him? Not as likely, but that's exactly what Jesus did. But let's move on to the real killer verse, verse 8, which says, but God demonstrates his own love toward us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. So now we are moving the timeline back. It wasn't an ambulance that came to save our soul at an accident, right at the moment of our salvation. No, it was done while we were yet sinners, while we hated him, while we were his enemies. That's when he laid down his life for us. But wait, if we go back to the 1 Peter 1:20 verse, it says he was foreknown before the foundation of the world. And as you think about this, he knew from before the foundation of the world, before let there be light and all of that stuff, that he would have to suffer a terrible death and pay the penalty for our sins to provide us a path of redemption. And that's before man was even created, before Adam and Eve. So you might ask yourself, well, gee, why would he even bother to create man in that case? Shouldn't he have just, stopped with the animals and trees and such, and just said, hey, that's pretty good. I'll have fun with the animals and trees. No, it's back to the Romans verse. Let me get there here. Which says in verse 8, but God demonstrates his own love toward us. He committed to providing that path of redemption, to sacrificing the ultimate sacrifice for us from before the establishment of the world. He committed to that and didn't back out. That's part of what makes that blood so precious and why his redemption is nothing to sneeze at. It's important. It's big. It's full of love. And the one question I'll leave with us is, what's going to be our response to that amazing amount of love? So let's choose to love every moment, because then we're going to love every moment. I'm your average wretch, and I hope you have a great week.